Hello and welcome back to the Magical Lane. I'm your host, Maggie Jane. And today we have our very lovely special guest, my amazing and wonderful boyfriend, Elijah. But today, he is not that. Today we have Coach Elijah. Yes, we have our amazing, fulfilling life coach and hypnotherapist here to dive into our subconscious mind and help us heal and uncover the ways that we are resisting. Our topic today is just ways and signs that you might be resisting your blessings or your manifestations. So that's what we're going to be diving into today.
Let's do it.
So,
What's up, everybody?
Yes, speak.
I got nothing to say yet, but what were you going to say?
What? My first question for you is, what would you say is your definition of resistance whenever it comes to emotions and internal work? What is internal resistance? What does that look like? We're going straight into it.
Okay, I feel like dictionary.com right now, how sometimes when you search up a word, like it gives you like running to run, but resistance, I would define it as just non-acceptance. It's just non-acceptance of what is. And either resisting what is in the moment in your life or resisting the direction that life is taking you. Resisting is resisting. I hope that makes sense.
It definitely does. And how would you say from your experiences that you first noticed or realized that you were resisting things in your life?
I would say I wasn't really aware of it when I first noticed.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I kind of got like a different notion of what life is and how it works, it's probably when I noticed resistance, because before that, it's like, I feel like it wouldn't really make sense. Like, what am I resisting? What do you mean? But when I did gain this different notion on how life works, and that certain things like well-being, peace are natural states, and we just often resist them and take ourselves out of those states, then I started to notice when I was resisting, because it's very easy to tell. It's just when you don't feel good.
Yeah.
Like if you don't feel good, you're resisting something, or you're thinking thoughts that are not in alignment with what is actually true about you.
Yeah.
So for me, I can't really give you an exact example.
I guess more of my question is, what would you say is like that mindset shift? Like, how were you living before, and how did you start to live after you realized that you were resisting your natural state and who you are? What were those shifts?
Well, first, what I was just describing, the mindset shift around what resistance is and being able to recognize it. Being able to become more aware. Wait, what was the question?
What were your mindset shifts before you realized you were resisting things and just like your natural being, and how did you shift after that? Once you gained the awareness that you did have resistance within
How did
your
I shift
being.
it?
Yeah.
Just shifting my mindset, because when we're resisting, it's like we're either thinking and we're thinking and feeling in a way that doesn't align with what's actually there for us or what's actually true about us, because most of the time that's what causes that internal conflict, is we're thinking things that aren't really true and don't align with our true nature or our natural state of peace and health and well-being. So like on a more physical example, you're creating resistance to your health and well-being if you're constantly feeding yourself Doritos and you know um,
Yeah.
all kinds of unhealthy processed food on a regular basis, McDonald's every day. Like you're creating resistance within your body. So that's one sense, uh, but you feel it when you're creating resistance internally. Um, like one example that comes up is breakups and heartbreak and things like that. Obviously, that stuff is going to be painful.
Yeah.
Um, but there's a difference between going through that pain and allowing yourself to feel it, not resisting the pain. And then you come out on the other side and it doesn't take too long before you feel much better. You've processed a lot of that pain. You are in a space where you feel more confident in yourself again and love yourself more, and you don't feel like half of you is missing.
Yeah.
But if you do continue to feel like half of you is missing, and you do continue to feel like, oh, they were my other half, and I'll never be the same again, you're resisting the truth about yourself, and that's why it feels like shit to think that way, because you're resisting um, your own independence and well-being and ability to be healthy, happy, peaceful, confident, and embody that natural state on your own, by yourself, and love yourself, and not need to seek love from other people.
I like that a lot. I feel like that's something that people definitely struggle with. I've been there before, and I feel like a big question that people always ask or just like wonder, like, what is the right amount of time after a relationship to,
However long it takes.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I emphasize that because there's a difference between pain and suffering.
Yeah.
But, pain is inevitable. Pain is going to happen. But suffering is if you're continuing to hold on to that.
At some
And
point, you're choosing it.
exactly. Yeah. And so, like, if that breakup is still, like you're still listening to depressing ass music and thinking about them and all sad every time you do,
Looking at all the
like
photos.
years later, like you're carrying that with you.
Yeah.
Because like it's like we look to the past often, our past experiences, and loathe on them as if nothing else that's good is going to come into our life. And by doing exactly that, this is another aspect of resistance. By doing exactly that, you're creating more resistance, and you're resisting anything good like that, or um, most likely even better coming into your life. Because like this is another misconception that a lot of people have about life, is it's like, oh, I had this one great thing, and I'll probably never get anything like that again. But life is a continuous process of expansion. And so we're continually expanding and growing and evolving. And every time you go through an experience, and there are things that you don't like, and then um, you get to look at that and clarify like what you actually do want.
Mm-hmm.
And if you maintain that resistance of, oh, nothing good is going to come, I'm probably never going to experience anything as good as that again, even your ex, even though your ex was abusive,
Yeah.
then you're not, because you're blocking exactly that, when the
Yeah.
natural process of life is for something better for you to come along. Like it's gonna happen if you're not resisting it.
Yeah. And going back to what you said in the beginning about how resistance is just not accepting what it is. Whenever you're in that state and you're believing that nothing better can come, you're also just not accepting the loss of what your life is trying to remove. Because when I feel like whenever you lose something from your life, whether it's a person or you are not working at a certain job anymore or just like anything like that, like your life in some way in the universe is trying to push you in
Yeah.
a different direction for a reason. So you have to accept that and just be able to go with the flow. And there's a lot of resistance, and a lot of people fear change as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, it can be scary for sure, and I feel like, especially if you're not used to it, which I feel like most people are not used to, just going with the flow of life, because that's not what we're taught. How would you say, like, what are the best tips to getting more in flow with life and being more accepting whenever you lose a partner that you've been with for 4 years, or you lose a job that you've been at for 10 years, or just like, what would you say are some really good ways or just like mindset shifts to help you be more accepting and to know that better things are coming and always will be coming?
I'd say the biggest thing is feel your feelings, feel your emotions, because that's like one of the main things on that topic. And basically everything else, if you're carrying resistance with you, you're carrying emotions with you, because that's the only, or false beliefs, thoughts that are not true and not serving you. But most of the time you're carrying emotions with you, because like there's never anything except for now, like this moment. Nothing else exists, just this moment. And you can talk about the future, the past, whatever, but when the future comes, it's now, it's this moment. And so in that same way, in the future, if you're not feeling, processing, allowing your emotions to move through you, to be felt until they're done being felt, then the future is going to be no different than the now, than this moment. It might be that those feelings are more suppressed, just, they're just packed away deeper within you, but they're still there.
Yeah.
And there's still that void that you feel like you have. And so processing those things in the moment, in the now, is the best way to not carry resistance forward with you into the future. Because when that comes around, like they say, time heals, which it doesn't.
No.
Feeling heals.
Time just goes on.
Yeah, like time doesn't heal. Time just goes. It's a matter of what are you doing with it? What are you doing in the now, in the moment?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not allowing yourself to fully feel those emotions and being okay with that, like that's one of the biggest things. So many people are just not okay with feeling their emotions.
Yeah.
Or like it's something I've noticed in you, something I've noticed in myself and many other people. It's like, I'm feeling it. What do you mean? But you're just suffering and perpetuating the feelings. You're not actually feeling it, because you're not separating the thoughts from your emotions, in the sense of, like, you think you're feeling an emotion, but really you're just telling yourself stories over and over and over again. And it's making you feel terrible about yourself, about whatever event happened. And so you're not actually feeling the emotion. You're just perpetuating it through your thoughts. But what I mean by feeling the emotion is allowing yourself to actually feel the sensation in your body without judgment, without all the chatter in your mind. And that's the biggest key to actually getting into a state of non-resistance, of allowance and acceptance. Well, acceptance, I feel like, is a whole different topic depending on where you want to take that. But
Yeah.
I
feel like
but
they go
allowing,
hand in hand.
Yeah, just allowing what is to be. And like, if what is you feel sad, then you got to allow that to be and feel the feeling, not think a bunch of thoughts around that feeling and think that you're feeling the feeling, when really you're resisting the feeling by thinking all those thoughts.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is that in order to go with the flow of life and to not resist is to just feel any emotions or any resistance that comes up in your body. So
Yeah. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are, and myself included in the past, and there's still some things like the other night I struggle with, and we were just having a conversation about this, and this honestly kind of sparked the inspiration for this episode, but I have a really hard time sleeping at night if it's silent. And like I'll just start hearing all of the noises around the room and I'll just start hearing this screaming in my head. So I always sleep with meditation music and like I'll wake him up and if I just cuz I literally just feel like something's going to come attack me and it's probably from watching horror films from when I was a kid and also just a lot of the fear that's been passed down in my family, but I just say to Elijah, and I'm just like, well, how do I get rid of this? And he's just like, feel that shit. And I'm like, well, I have. And he's just saying like, well, you got to feel it more than one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a continual process,
Yeah.
especially dealing with things like that. Like that's very clearly some kind of subconscious
Yeah.
thought pattern. It's more so the emotion than it is the thoughts. It's just repressed emotions that are still hanging out within you.
Yeah. See, I still am trying to gain full understanding of all of that because like it's something I've experienced my whole life. Like I've grew up just like having nightmares consistently, not every single night, but lots of nightmares and just it's not that I'm afraid of the dark and I enjoy silence, but when you put them together at nighttime, it's just overwhelming for my mind and then the thoughts just start going and like this feeling of fear just overtakes my body and one thing I want to mention is that I was trying to say like, oh, I'll just tell my mind like, those are just sounds. So I want you to say like what you were saying to me whenever I was saying that.
So the premise of what I was saying is like, on one end, you have the fearful thoughts, thinking all this scary shit, whatever. And then on the other end, they're like, okay, let me try and convince myself that, oh, they're just sounds, they're just noises, I'm okay, nothing's going wrong. It's like either end of that spectrum, you're still playing the game of the fear. Like both ends are coming from the fear. So if that's what you got going on here, you need to go deeper to the fear because the fear is what's creating both of those. And so by like just trying to tell yourself different thoughts like that, like might help a little bit, but as you experienced, did that help?
Never helps.
Yeah. So
I feel like that makes it worse.
Yeah. Then you're trying to convince yourself that it's not when
it's almost like I'm not allowing myself to accept the fear.
Exactly. Yeah. You're resisting feeling the fear.
Yeah.
By like what I was just describing, resisting feeling the emotion, the fear in this case, by going into all those stories and thoughts in your mind. Or playing the game of the ego, which doesn't want to feel the emotions. It wants to perpetuate the emotions. The ego wants to perpetuate its limitations of what it believes and feels is familiar and safe. And so you have to allow yourself to feel those deeper feelings of fear and be okay with that, not judging it, not, thinking all of that, because the thoughts are a manifestation of the fear. Yeah. So you got to go to the core. So, yeah.
Well, I want to transition that into manifestation and the abundance and basically that same conversation, but in regards to achieving your dreams and how, like, for example, I'm always big on journaling, of course. Y'all know this shit because I say it every single episode, but I have been kind of struggling with journaling lately in the sense of whenever something good happens to me, like for example, I just received a really good opportunity to go shoot. You're good. To go shoot back in Arizona. And whenever I receive a big opportunity like this, instantly my mind is like, okay, I need to hold on to this energy. I need to make sure it's like recurring, and I need to stay in this feeling, and I need to go right about everything, and just like it becomes so much. And I was like journaling and like writing, and whenever I like wrote something down, it was just like, I know I will be dot dot dot. And it was coming from a positive intention, but just the way that it was coming out, it just didn't feel good. It didn't feel good. And I want to talk about like how do you, like, whenever something good happens to you, what do you do with that energy? When you receive a great opportunity, you receive your dream job or a dream opportunity, what the fuck do you do with that energy? And how do you not resist?
Cough. I've been having this ongoing cough for like a month at least now, since being here, and allergies.
It's been like 2 months, but
okay, whatever.
Yeah. Anyways.
So yeah, it's like this. That's a very common thing. A lot of people think like, oh, all this good stuff is happening, so there's bound to be something bad that's about to happen. Like, watch out, something bad's going to happen because all this good stuff's happening. And like, I've had that program.
I don't like that mindset.
Too. I probably even have some of that program still there that comes up at times, but it's like, because like you'll think about well, first of all, like, you are the sole cause of what, very controversial, of what you create in your life.
Bring the controversy.
Yeah, I will. You're the sole cause of what you create and experience in your life. And that's not to say that it's your fault.
Yeah.
That is to say that if it's happening, it's also somewhere within your consciousness, because everything that you experience is just a reflection of yourself. And so that kind of thought process and worry is like saying the natural processes and the laws that life works by are just going to stop working because, I had this great result, I had this big job, or had like it's like you'll get all excited, like, oh, it worked. Like, I manifested this big opportunity or whatever it might be. And then there's a fear that the exact process that brought you that is going to stop working.
Yeah.
And it's like, life has been around for, well, I don't know how long humans have been around, but the earth has been, this universe has been around for, I guess time doesn't really matter, forever.
We don't know.
Yeah, who knows? And it's like, it's operates under the same core principles and laws. It's like, it's not just going to stop working. Like, who are you to think that you're not that big? Like, that's such an egoic way of thinking. Yeah. It's like, oh no, like my little life, like, it's going to stop working. It's like, no, you live in this universe that operates by the same laws, and it always has. And, that's just, you're not fully understanding it. And also you're still holding on to resistance.
Yeah.
Resistance to the way that life is actually is and actually works and is actually going. And then, it's like you wonder why more bad things will start to happen. It's because that's what you expect to happen.
True.
I don't know if that fully answers the question, but
I think so. I feel like another thing that goes into that is one, that feeling of resistance, and like you were saying, how it happened once, but it's not gonna happen again. I feel like a lot of that resistance also comes from control, because it happens once and you feel like you did really well, even if you like got something that you weren't necessarily expecting, I feel like this side of ego and control tries to come in and be like, okay, what are all of the things that I can do to make sure that this keeps happening? And then that's actually, if you have, like, depending on the work that you're doing, but I feel like that's actually the thing that makes it not happen.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like, you gotta think, so often it is that ego control thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, awesome, this happened. I have no idea all of the forces behind this happening or how exactly this came to fruition and got created, but it happened. And now I'm going to not trust that that's how things happen for me, even though that just happened. I'm just not going to trust that that's how things happen. And I'm going to go and try to control how the next things happen for me.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what you want in a certain aspect, but then you have all these resistant feelings of, oh, it's not going to happen unless I do this, this, this.
Yeah.
It's like, did you do that for that result? Like, where did that shoot for you come from? It's
Then
like
fucking air.
Yeah. Like, you didn't do anything for that. You signed with an agency last year.
Yeah. I put in all the work, like, over time. So I've
same with your Nike commercial.
Yeah.
It's like, it just, boom. Oh shit, you're shooting for Nike? All right, let's go.
Yeah.
So it's funny. Like, I'm not religious, but they, like, if you deny that there is major fucking truth in the Bible, you don't understand it. And you have, blocks of perception in your way, probably judgment, which is understandable. A lot of people are very forceful of their religion when they're not fully embodying it, because that's not what it's about. But anyway, I say all that to say, in the beginning of the Bible, like, what did God do? He said, let there be light. And there was light. Like, how the fuck did that light just become light? How did it happen? How did the world just, come into creation? Yeah. Who knows? That's God's work. And, if you're not, if you have resistance to the word God, it's the universe. It's, call it what you want.
Whatever
the creator
suits you.
Yeah. But to think like that, the perfection and order of the whole world and the universe was not created by some higher power, like, get out of here, honestly. Get the fuck out. Because, like, the I don't know, it's magical. Life is just magical.
You're listening to the magical lane.
Yeah. So it's like God said, let there be light, and there was light. How did it come about? Who knows? Like I said, that's God's work. But what did he do? He said, he had a vision. He said, let there be light. And there was light. And God is
zero resistance.
Yeah, God is not going about creating all these things, the seas, all the water, the land, all the animals, the plants. Like, oh, but I don't really know if that's possible. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I'm worthy. What will other people, like, what? I don't know if I'm worthy of creating something that big, or like all of these potential resistant thoughts that you probably have going on in regards to, on the grander scheme of things, what are your little ass goals? If we're being real, like, most people have very small goals.
We're like a little ants.
But even if you do have huge goals, it's like, look, zoom out. Like, it's so insignificant in comparison to the whole universe.
Yeah.
And beyond.
I feel like a lot of people need to do that more, and just, like, we're so zoomed in on our lives and just the society and the world that we observe around us that we don't look at the bigger picture and be like, the whole, like, we're literally on a floating rock in the world. Whatever, I don't fucking know. Whatever you want to do in life, it's not that serious. And I feel like there's so much unnecessary resistance and just fear and self-doubt. Like,
yeah,
we're on a floating rock. You could do whatever the fuck you want.
It's like, dude, look at existence itself, and then like with awe, with wonder, with curiosity, with like just seeing the magnificence of it, and then try and convince yourself that you can't manifest $2,000 in your bank account. Like, look around you at all the shit that just came from nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like put it to scale properly, and you'll understand that you actually can have it. You can, create what you want. You can, as long as it's in alignment with the universe, with the expansion of the universe.
Yeah.
If it's not going to last. That's facts. That's this very basic, simple truth. If it's not in alignment with the universe, it's not going to last.
Because the universe will come in and
that's
things back in alignment.
That's like humanity and civilization now. Like, it's gonna get wiped out. Like, something.
The end is coming.
Everything with the climate change and stuff like that is a very clear sign that something is probably going to happen. Because how did civilization get wiped out? But like 12,000 years ago from Ice Age. It was a huge weather change, and so it's like we can try to change it. We might be beyond the tipping point because of how fucked up civilization is.
Some people might survive.
Yeah, but it's gotta happen again.
Yeah.
And it's just the natural process of Earth.
Yeah.
And so you're just creating more resistance for yourself if you're perpetuating a fear of death and a fear of what is inevitable on Earth. Like,
yeah. But bringing it back, I feel like it's also absurd to think that you're not a part of this whole creation.
Yeah.
That you're not connected, that you're not in full alignment and on the same frequency of nature and the abundance of nature and the abundance of life. Like, we all live on that spectrum, and it's absolutely fucking absurd that people don't recognize that, or that we're not even taught that. But like,
it is absurd, but it makes sense because like you only see from where you're at.
Well, it's only that way because people stopped teaching that, and they got so far off the path and so far into this resistance and this control and power that
into the lower energies.
They're no longer aligned with the universe, and that's why things are so fucked up right now.
But, yeah, in many ways. But
yeah, I don't want to get into that.
It's a good conversation, but
it is.
Anyway, that's not the point.
Yeah.
It's a part of the point, but that's not the point. So, like, what the thing is, I don't know. Are we talking about manifestation still and resistance and?
Yeah, and just like how. Okay, I want to bring it back to this. So when I was journaling, I literally stopped and I wrote down, like that. I know I will be ... or I know, like this will happen. And, you think when you write stuff like that, you think that that's coming from, I know this shit's going to happen. But one thing that he pointed out to me, and because I told him, I'm like, it doesn't feel good. And he was just like, does it feel like you're resisting it or that there's separation from it? And I'm like, I told him, I'm like, there's separation from what I just wrote and this goal that I'm writing down. And in that sense, it's just, I'm writing, I know I will be, and that's the separation. It's happening. I'm already living. The thing that I wrote down, I'm literally living it right now. So he told me, he's just like, I want to get into gratitude and, just appreciation. And what would you say, like, whenever you are feeling, going back to like, whenever you receive that big opportunity and, there's so much energy. 'Cause I feel like that energy can be kind of overwhelming because it's just like, especially if you don't fully understand it and you're not like okay, yes, I know I manifested this. This is exactly
Like
why this happened.
a big opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's chance or it's luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like that energy can be so overwhelming, and I feel like that's why people go into, oh, well, bad things are going to happen because look at the rest of my life before, and they just constantly compare it to their past experiences.
That's exactly it.
So
that's what creates the resistance.
Yeah.
It's unfamiliar.
Yeah. So how can you get comfortable with that?
Training yourself
How?
into training yourself into new ways of thinking and feeling and perceiving. And so,
What does that look like on a day-to-day basis? What are physical things you can do to train your mind?
well, first of all, is perception. Like if you're gonna have a really hard time training your mind to think and feel better if deep down you believe that life is a certain way.
Yeah.
Um like God is spiteful and life is against you, and if you have core beliefs that that's what life is, like that's where you need to start, because one, that's only a reflection of your current state of being, and two, um you can't really have any progress unless you get beyond those core beliefs, or at least let go of the emotions that are at the core of those core beliefs. And so a lot of it comes down to emotions, like all of this stuff. Like life is a game of feeling.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm going off track. How do you train yourself? Okay. How do you train yourself? By training, like I was saying, your perception, but also your thinking and feeling. So um
But for those that are already in alignment and they know, maybe not full alignment, but they believe in the universe. They know the universe is working for them. How do you train your mind to get into full alignment with that?
true. I guess you're probably not watching The Magical Lane if you don't already believe in the magic of life somewhat.
Yeah.
Or you're trying to, so
So for those people who are already on that similar path and they're this close to that alignment, how can they take that step further? Because that's something that I've been really working on.
Okay, so I just want to start with the concrete example that we have, which is you writing in your journal, I will be experiencing or, doing blah, 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 whatever. And what I told you yesterday, which was like, first of all, how does that feel? It doesn't, feels like separation, either separation or resistance. And it felt like separation to you, because here's the thing with manifestation, with life in general, is, and you already know this, it's so fucking simple and basic, and you probably see it on your Instagram 20 times a day. But like, you have to feel as if it's already real. It's already your experience. If not, then you're putting yourself in a separation. You're putting a gap between you, your current self and reality, and the desired outcome, result, manifestation, whatever experience. And so you have to feel as if it already is. You have to be now what you want to be. Like, you have to feel what you want to feel. So like, what do you want and how does it feel to already have that now? See, it's so simple and so basic. And like I said, you see it everywhere, you hear it everywhere, but you're not doing it. You're not actually doing it.
Yeah.
That's why it's not working for you. Probably because you're still feeling separation. You don't fully believe it. It will come into your life. It will come into fruition when you feel that it's just the next logical step. It's just the next logical step. And when you're at that point where you feel into that so strongly, like I've had times where this manifested me $30,000, $4,500, and beyond. And honestly, every time it's been more than what I was asking for. But
Most of the time.
you won't get it unless you feel it. And
when you talk about those feelings, what are you feeling exactly?
So what's the outcome you want? How does it feel to have that outcome? So what was the thing that you wrote in your journal yesterday?
That I know I will be traveling to do model campaigns.
Okay, well, here's the thing that's crazy about that is you're already doing it. And so how does that feel?
Fucking exciting and liberating and just full of a lot of gratitude and appreciation.
Okay, and so what emotional state were you writing that from? Were you writing it from that state of appreciation and gratitude and
No,
magic?
I was writing it from a fear of I want to keep experiencing this, so I'm going to try to do everything that I possibly can to make it happen.
Yeah.
But I'm already experiencing it, and then I literally scratched that out and just started to write about gratitude.
So there you go. Like, if you're already experiencing exactly what you wrote, but you don't feel like you're experiencing it because you're writing this trying to tell yourself, I will experience this, as if it's not already a current reality.
Yeah.
So there's no difference in you experiencing that thing and you not experiencing that thing, because right now you don't feel, well, right now could be different. At that moment yesterday, you didn't feel like you were experiencing that thing now.
Yeah. I feel good. No.
And so it's like, how do you retrain yourself into the right vibrations and energy is by training yourself into the right vibrations and energy. What does it feel like? Training yourself into feeling that appreciation more regularly, feeling the gratitude more regularly, feeling the wonder, curiosity, awe of the universe, of life itself. And typically, if you're just going about your day-to-day life, it's very mundane, it's repetitive, and you're not thinking or feeling into any of those states outside of what is familiar and normal to you, which is why you need to change your input. You need to listen to this podcast more.
Yeah.
You need to.
We got 2 episodes a week. Come on.
You need to read books that expand your mind. Like, every time you pick it up and you read even just a couple of pages, it's like, whoa, you have a new perspective, a new insight on what life actually is.
What are your top 3 books?
Oh, 3? Oh, okay. So I'm gonna make them specific to this episode.
Yeah.
The Vortex by Esther and Jerry Hicks. That is one of the best emotional intelligence and emotional mastery books that you could read. On the topic of emotions, Letting Go by David Hawkins. Also one of my top favorite books. But let me go back. The Vortex, I have listened to that audiobook at least 10 to 12 times, probably more. And so, like, this is what I live this shit. Like, when I tell you to retrain and bring these new perspectives, thoughts, ideas, and beliefs into your mind, I mean, seriously fucking do it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, okay, I don't mean to, I know, like, you and some other people I've talked to.
Call me out. It's whatever.
It's like, I don't like listening. I don't like their voice. I don't like listening to it's like, do you, what is that actually what matters here? Or you're not actually immersing yourself in the information and the wisdom that's being shared. If you're, I don't like their voice, like, get used to it. It takes, like, you listen for one day, you'll get used to it. You listen for 1 hour, you'll get used to it. And it'll be like, okay, like, every new person that you meet, you might have, like, best friends right now, or when you met them, you were like, you kind of notice, like, this person's a little weird in some ways. But then what happens after you hang out with them a few more times? It's like they're very normal to you because it's familiarity. We don't like what's not familiar.
Yeah.
And so, just a little tangent on that note.
True.
But like, seriously, what is most important? Do you actually, is it actually important to you? Because if it is, you'll do it. If it isn't, you won't do it. Or if you're not ready to make that decision or that change yet, you probably won't do it. Because what I've noticed is most people who I give recommendations to, most people who I talk to, especially if they're not actually working with me and committed and invested into it, like I'll give them all these recommendations. Do they stick with it? Most of the time, no.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Because it's not familiar, and they don't have skin in the game. They're not committed to it. They're not committed to themselves. Because like that's the thing with hiring a coach or even a therapist. It's like you're committing to yourself. You're putting money forward, which, if we're being real, money is. I used to live in a world where money was more valuable than me, and that's crazy. That was depressing as fuck. But like that's really how it is for a lot of people in this society. Is like we see money above ourselves. And like if you're putting money into this, you're committed. If you recognize, this is how you know you're a real fucking winner and you're gonna get what you want out of life, is if you see money as a temporary tool that can contribute to the continual expansion of yourself as the vehicle for getting whatever you want in your life, then you're gonna get there. It's really just a matter of time and continuing that commitment to yourself. Because like for me, like I've invested, I don't even know at this point. I know at 20 years old, I'm 23, I'll be 24 this year. At 20 years old, I had already invested like over $20,000 in myself and my personal development, which is not, it's different than school. Because school is like this, just standard expense for a lot of people these days.
Yeah.
Like going to college and stuff, where it's expensive as fuck, but it's just this standard expense. And it's not like, oh yeah, I'm making a huge decision, I'm investing in myself. Like, no. And most people aren't doing that. But if you see the value in that, you're rare, because surprisingly, a lot of people don't see or understand that. Don't understand the value of investing in themselves. They don't understand that you as the vehicle, you as the creator of your life, the more in alignment you get, the more you grow and expand, the more competent and capable you become of everything that you want in life. And so then it's not a matter of, is this possible for me? It's a matter of, am I willing to commit to this? Am I willing to go along with the process? Am I willing to invest in myself now, knowing that by investing $10,000, $20,000, $200 right now, that is going to pay off tenfold plus and beyond at some point.
What would you say are the biggest fears that people have around committing to themselves in that way?
Like financially committing, yeah.
Any type of self-investment and fully diving in and believing in themselves and just investing in their personal journey.
Yeah, because it doesn't even have to be financial.
No.
Like I didn't start off.
I haven't invested $20,000 in myself.
No, I mean you get free coaching. That's a little different, but
yeah, technically I have.
Yeah, I mean basically you've gotten the equivalent, because like everything that I've invested in and used for my personal expansion, I am now walking embodiment of that. And so it's like all the wisdom,
now
everything is just like, if you're around me, you just get it.
Yeah.
If you don't really get it, probably not around me that much.
Anyways, what are those fears around that commitment?
Well, fear. The fears are fear.
How do those show up?
Yeah. Self-sabotage. So it's like I've talked to so many people in my whole experience coaching over the past years, who like they're ready. They're like, oh hell yeah, let's do this. They're like, yep, send me the invoice. I'm gonna sign up, and I send them the invoice. And oh my gosh, one example in particular, it was so funny because this dude was so ready. He was like, and I don't know if people just lie. I mean, people lie. People lie.
Yeah. Go listen to my other episode.
But he's like, I'm putting in his card information to sign up for coaching with me, and he's like, I don't know, the card wasn't working or something. He's like, oh shit, I got to go do this and this. And so he goes and gets that figured out, hops back on with me and is putting in this new card. And it's like, oh, it's not working. Um, and so I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, are you able to do this? Are you ready or not? And then after that, it's like, okay, here, I'll just send you this invoice, get to it. As soon as you get that figured out, and then ghosted, never heard from him again. And it's like, oh, okay. I thought we had something going here. I thought you were actually ready to, take the stuff that you have going on more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But no, people are flaky. People will lie to you and to themselves, and
mostly just to themselves.
Yeah, get into state of resistance. And I know it's scary. Like the first time I invested big in myself, I paid $5,700 paid in full on a credit card. I didn't even have the money on a credit card. And was that the smartest move? Probably. Yeah, actually. Yeah, it was, because what did I get from it? It's not a focus on, oh, I'm losing all of this money. It's like, no, what am I getting out of this? And like I said, I'm getting to expand myself and learn from these people who have been doing this for years already, and are levels ahead of me, so I can just collapse that gap.
Mm-hmm.
And have that. So back to the fears though, really quickly.
Yeah.
It's scary. Like when I did that for the first time, I invested that $5,700. It was scary. I was like, ooh. And beyond that, I've invested so much more. And so I know that it's scary, but it's like values, priorities, really understanding what's most important to you. Because for me, I was so committed to myself because I was in a place where I was like, it's not worth it to live the rest of my life like this. I need to do something about this. And I'm not going to go and try to follow the traditional path. It just didn't sit right with me. And because of my personal experience growing up and everything that entailed, but it just didn't sit right with me. Yeah, exactly.
None of us are.
Yeah, for real. It's like, anyway.
But I want to...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to dive into that. You invested your $5,700 on a credit card, and I like that mindset you had. You're saying that was the best option for you, because a lot of people would be like, no, that's such a dumb decision to do. That's
stupid. But then they'll go spend $100K on college and still have student loans they're paying off when they're 40 years old.
Yeah, but I wanna dive into that in the sense that I feel like a lot of people, and myself included, we feel like we need to have a plan for everything. And, I realize this within myself because, I'm always talking about, on my last episode, I was just saying, oh, be spontaneous. You don't need to have a plan for everything. You can't plan everything. And I feel like we forget that money is included in that. And I want your opinion on that. You invested $5,700 on your credit card, and did you have a plan on how you were gonna pay that off, or were you just trusting?
Yeah.
So I want your opinion on having a plan on how you're making money, and then trusting that it's just gonna happen because you're putting in that energy.
All right. So here's the thing. I'm not playing a logical game. Logic is limited. Logic is limited by the ego. Life is so much beyond the ego. The ego is like the filter of limitation that we have. And so logic is great in certain times, places, and points, especially when it's working together. with faith and emotion, the emotional aspect of it, right? Left and right brain. If you're only, I don't even know which is which, honestly. I think left brain is the logical.
Right is your like emotions and
Yeah.
creativity.
So if you're like strictly left brained kind of person, logical, you do everything based on reason, what makes sense mentally. You're not seeing the whole picture, and you're limiting yourself from the innate power of your being and of the universe. And so, like, I'm not playing a logical game. Like, logically, it might not make sense, but here's the thing: for me, it did make sense logically and emotionally, because I was making an investment which had a very clear ROI. It was
What's ROI?
return on investment.
Oh.
So I was paying $5,700 for this 1 month of one-on-one coaching, and then it continued into group coaching for the next 2 months. And that also included hypnotherapy. That's where I learned how to do hypnotherapy. But it was helping me tremendously with my emotional, mental blocks, the stuff that I was experiencing. Absolutely changed my life in that aspect. But it was also helping me build my business. And so it's like, okay, if I invest in this and then get 2 clients, I've already paid off my investment. So that was kind of the thought process there. But also knowing, like, I can give into the fear and not do this, but what's going to happen then? I'm going to stay where I am. I'm going to stay trying to do the same things that make logical sense to me at the place that I'm currently standing at, my current viewpoint. But that's only going to continue to give me the results that I'm getting, which are not much, because you don't know what you don't know. And that's the thing is our mind.
You'll never know if you don't try.
Exactly. And trust. Yeah. Our mind will have us buy into these limitations. But it's like, you don't know what you don't know. So, and you won't know if you don't try. So I don't know exactly where I was going with that, but yeah, that's that.
Do you think people need to have a plan for their money?
I'm not qualified to speak on that.
Okay.
I'll be real. Like, do you? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And do I think you should invest in yourself? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I think you should spend $6,000 that you don't have when you have 3 kids that you need to put food on the table for, and that's just going to put you deeper in the hole and deeper into a state of scarcity? Maybe you already have some debt. Should you do that? Maybe, maybe not. What you should do is you should do what you can with what you have. You should meditate. See, this is the thing. It's not just investing in yourself financially.
No.
It's just your overall commitment to yourself. Like, have you made a decision on what you want and that you're gonna get it regardless of the limitations, the challenges that come up? Oh, this is kind of hard. Yeah, no shit. Like, have you made that decision? That's the question. Because if not, even if you invest in yourself, oftentimes people will try to throw money at the problem. Like, if you have an excess of money, try to throw money at your problems without actually putting in the energetic commitment.
Yeah.
And commitment to yourself. So it's like, you can invest money because you think that's the solution. That's not the solution. That could be a potential solution. But if you're not already willing to take time every day to meditate, or to read something that's helping you expand your mind, to listen to a podcast or audiobook, which shout out to you for listening to this.
Nice. We love you.
You know, you're doing it, and keep doing it. Keep showing up for yourself, because that is what you need to do. Show up for yourself. But if you're not willing to do those basic things, like, I've just laid it all out for you, but just look into it deeper. Like, what I literally began my whole personal development journey with was I started a business online. I was introduced to the whole concept of personal development. I experienced some results through a podcast. I experienced some results just listening to that podcast and major breakthroughs. And I was like, whoa, what the hell? I can change all this stuff. I can change my whole life from this stuff. I can change how I feel on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Like all of these things. I was mind blown. And then I started going from there, listening to other things. And like that's what I mean. It's like, oh, but I want to listen to music. It's like when I
You want to
started
stay in the same spot?
when I started listening to that podcast, I literally listened to that podcast. I became obsessed. I listened to that podcast every single time I was in the car driving. I did not listen to music for a while. And it's like, you don't have to be that extreme, but throw it on every once in a while. Or do the opposite, listen to music every once in a while.
Yeah.
Especially, what kind of music are you listening to? We're not going to get into that, but
Well, what I do want to get into is, for me personally, you know, I've been on this journey for a few years now, and I have created a lot for myself. And you know, I meditate a lot more than I used to, and I can more easily get into alignment with what I want, and I can, you know, understand what I'm feeling and how to feel it and actually feel it and to release that. But one thing that I do still struggle with, and I'm trying to, you know, shift and transition, is this question of what do I do with my time? Especially, you know, I've talked about this before, but whenever you're in this, you know, entrepreneur business journey, especially at the beginning, you start to notice that you have the time. So what I've noticed within myself is these just like patterns or these thoughts of, you know, some days I'll wake up and I want to get right onto my podcast and just start working on that. Or I want to, you know, I want to start working on something that I enjoy. And something in my mind tells me, no, you need to do other things first. And it's not saying anything specific. It's just telling me that that's not acceptable in a way. So what would you say, like, whenever you're trying to figure out what to do with your time, how do you combat those patterns and those beliefs and those thoughts that are coming up telling you to do something else, even if it's not aligned with where you're trying to go?
yeah. Um, I would say one of the biggest things is follow your intuition. Like if you wake up and it's like, oh, I want to go do this. If that's what excites you in that moment, like go do it.
Yeah.
You know. Uh, but also then recognizing the difference between intuition and patterns and familiarity. Because like what's familiar is like you feel like you have this limitation or restriction on, oh, I have to do these things first when I get up in the morning. Whereas if the passion is there and the excitement's there, the ideas are there, go work.
Yeah.
Like whatever. You don't need to have so much rigidity in your life. But can you actually repeat the question for me?
Yes. So the question was, whenever these thoughts and the old patterns are coming up around, you know, you're trying to train your mind and you're trying to stay in more alignment with, you know, the flow of life and your goals and the manifestations that you're working on. But in your day to day, you have these thoughts, or your natural feeling that you come back to isn't in that alignment. How do you combat those thoughts and patterns? How do you decipher between them?
Um, feeling. Like I've talked to you about this, like what feels, I think I briefly talked about it in this episode already. What feels more in alignment? What feels good? If it doesn't feel good, you know it's not in alignment with what's true about you. And so I want to go. That just made me realize I didn't even give 3 book recommendations. I gave 2 earlier when you asked me for 3. But I want to go back to the first one. Go listen to some Jerry and Esther Hicks or Abraham Hicks, and if you can allow your mind to get beyond the idea that may seem very crazy to a lot of people, that Abraham is this being that's channeled through Esther, and that's who is speaking in all of her work. Uh, if you can allow yourself to get beyond that, you will see and experience the immense truth in all of that.
Phenomenal shit.
Yeah. But it seems woo-woo. It seems crazy at first. Like that kind of stuff did to me at first. And I'm still skeptical about some of that stuff because I feel like not everybody who does that is actually fully authentic or actually fully experiencing it. There are always the people who are
you can tell the difference.
Fraudulent out there. But when you listen to this shit, you can feel it deep within your being. You can feel the truth of it.
Yeah.
And so go listen to that. Or read it, whatever. The Vortex, Money and the Law of Attraction, Ask and It Is Given, The Power of Deliberate Intent, any of those books.
There you go. There's your book recommendations.
Yeah. But actually, I want to throw a third one. So the first one was The Vortex, just quickly. The first one was The Vortex. The second one was Letting Go by David Hawkins. And the third one is going to be, it's only 45 minutes. It's going to be Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard. So the way that you really get into that state is like you were talking about, like, what can you do? How do you spend your time? When your time is no longer, you no longer think of time as just this thing that you have to just get stuff done. Or plan or solve problems and figure things out.
That's a big,
because so often the action that comes from problem solving and figuring things out and all that is also coming from separation, limitation. You're not operating on the level of conscious creation, unconscious creation, or manifestation. You're operating on the level of action. Because like I said earlier, God said, let there be light. What did he do in order for there to be light? He just said, let there be light.
He allowed.
Yeah. And it's because God knows his power. So do you know your power? Do you recognize the God in you? That's the question. And I'm not even going to get into that. I'm not even going to.
We'll get into that in another episode.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic. But 2 different things. What do you do with your time?
Yeah.
Right. But also, how do you shift and retrain yourself into those ways of thinking?
Yeah.
So first of all, feel what you got to feel. Feel what comes up. But also recognize when you're just going into old thought patterns, thought loops, bringing more self-awareness. So this goes back to a meditation practice or any kind of contemplation, silence, just chill. Like go
stare at a wall.
Wake up in the morning, go sit outside on the porch or balcony or whatever, just freaking sit there. Don't bring your phone. Don't distract yourself. As a matter of fact, don't touch your phone for the first hour when you wake up. Do something like that in the morning, because then you can become more aware of your thought patterns. And this is so key, but I will say it over and over and over and over again because it's so key. There's a difference between operating, just playing out your patterns and your programs, and being aware of the programs and the patterns trying to play themselves out. because we are habitual beings. We have certain core programs, patterns, principles, what's familiar, and we'll run on that over and over and over again. And it's not, those things aren't based on what's best for us necessarily. They're based on just survival. If it works, it works. Even if we're holding on to a bunch of emotions and we have all these emotions of stress, anxiety, suffering that are constantly weighing us down, that's what's familiar. So we often trick ourselves into holding on to it. And then we begin to identify with it. And then we reinforce the belief that we're messed up even more, and we go and take medication because of it. And we listen to all those diagnoses that our doctor wants to give us. And we're like, oh, okay, I'm this. Oh, I'm this too. Oh, I'm
They're
this
paid
too.
to find your problems.
Yeah, that's a business. And it's not one of the most high integrity businesses. So keep that in mind. It's definitely not.
They want you to be sick.
Yeah.
Because that means you get a bigger paycheck. But anyways.
Again, another topic. That's a whole other episode. But something where you can recognize the pattern playing out instead of just living in it. There's a difference between living in it and observing the pattern. And obviously you're not always going to be observing it because
you have to live it.
90+% of our day-to-day life is just carried out subconsciously. We're just operating on a subconscious autopilot.
See, and that's what I'm trying to retrain. Because that's what I have so much time, and I have, I'm not, like you were saying, how we, especially for me, and a lot of people, how we just use our time to plan things or solve problems or try to figure things out. I don't have anything to plan. I don't have anything I need to figure out right now. Yes, I have things that I can improve on, like with my podcast. There's things that I want to do, but that's not anything I can change in this specific moment. So that's what I'm trying to retrain my mind and my subconscious is I'm not trying to plan. So what do I do with my time?
So to that point, if you're manifesting, if you're embodying a state where it's already done, the results they're already here. Like you've already received them.
Yeah.
You already feel how it's gonna feel.
Yeah.
Then what are the actions that no longer align with this new paradigm of thinking? Which are often I need to create a whole to-do list and do all of these different activities or else I'm not going to get this result.
Yeah,
You're thinking too much on that. Yeah. You're thinking too much on the how, if that's the case though. Like how it's all going to happen.
Yeah.
But purely on the topic of just feeling into reality, like feeling your desires and manifestations into reality. What do you do with your time? Enjoy yourself, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But also,
no, I'm just kidding.
Also with Jerry and Esther Hicks books, one thing that really stood out to me was so often we are in a constant state of action and we feel like we need to do so much and get so much done because we're in a state of trying to make up for our lack of emotional and vibrational alignment with action. But the thing is, the action, you cannot make up for a lack of vibration or a negative vibration with action. And so one example I can think of is like hustle culture. It operates completely on the idea that the only results you create are those which you take action and grind and work 24-hour days for, like, obviously not 24-hour days, but like 16-hour work days and shit like that.
Yeah.
And you got to grind and you always have to be on top of it and stuff. It's like you're trying to make up for your imbalance of vibration with action, but vibration is a million times more powerful than physical action, because vibration, which is your thoughts and intentions, your emotional state, that vibration is working with the non-physical forces of life that are very much there,
Yeah.
And influencing life through that aspect, whereas physical is very limited. Physical is limited to time and space. Like I can pick this up and put it over there, and it takes time to do that. That took time,
Yeah.
Whereas I can't do like the levitation, telekinesis type
Not
shit.
yet.
Not yet. I mean, that'd be cool. But like, I just use that as an example that in the physical world, which many people don't have a strong connection to the non-physical or a strong understanding of what it even is. But if you're trying to manifest, if we're working with manifestation, conscious, intentional manifestation, you're working with the non-physical. Mm-hmm. Yes, action is required, but when you're actually in that state where you're embodied in the feeling of the results that you want, you literally feel and expect it as if it's just the next logical step. And that's the key, is it won't happen until you fully feel it. So just continue, just keep going with it until you can fully freaking feel it and know and expect it. And also at the same time, you're not attached. It doesn't matter because you have it, because,
it's here.
Then it's a whole different ballgame. Like that does not operate from time and space. They've done studies where they will take somebody's a cell from somebody. Don't quote me on this. Look up the studies. If you really need, proof. They've done studies where they'll take a cell from somebody, take it all the way across the world, all the way across the globe, and then when the cell, when the person or whatever that cell came from, it feels a certain emotional reaction or something like that. The cell all the way across the world changes at the exact same time, experiences the exact same thing at the exact same time. And it's like, that's not a coincidence. Everything is connected. Yeah. And when you're operating on that level, it's not limited by time and space. Like literally the exact same time. It was imminent, like now. There's no delay between the two. It's not like this happens and then that happens. It's as soon as this happens, that's already happened as well. Yeah. And beyond that, it's like, I know you've experienced times where you think of something or you think of somebody and then they text you. Coincidence? Certainly not. You have intuition. You are connected to this non-physical reality. Yeah. Intimately connected, inseparable from this non-physical reality because it's where you come from. And it's not physical. Do you see the Wi-Fi emissions going from the Wi-Fi router to your phone? Do you see the telephone signals? Do you see, like, you don't see those things, but they're in the air all around you. Yeah. Do you see the streams of light coming from the lights around you? Like, you see that sometimes you can see the rays from the sun and stuff, but like, you don't see that stuff unless there's like dust in the air. You'll see it reflecting on the dust. You don't see the actual light in the air. Yeah. It's non-physical. And so the materialistic worldview of, if I can't see it and touch it, it's not real. I'm not even going to speak on that.
You already are.
Yeah. Well, no, I've already said enough. Like, yeah. Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I feel like I'm just kind of in a phase of life where I'm no longer trying to plan my life. I'm just trying to live my life.
So back to, how do you spend your time? Like, if you're not spending all of your time trying to make up for an emotional and vibrational imbalance,
Yeah, I feel good, and I
What are you
feel
doing?
that's what I'm trying to, like understand. And
That's like, those old people you see just sitting on a bench at the park for
that's what they're
hours.
just living.
That's what they know. They're just enjoying the
Yeah.
moment. They're in the moment.
That's kind of where I'm at right now, and I feel like as a now 22-year-old, I feel like an old woman in a sense because I'm like I just want to sit there and
You're an old soul.
I am. I want to sit outside and read my book and pet some cats for hours. Like,
Yeah.
I don't find anything wrong with that. I don't feel the desire to be super actionable or go plan anything or figure out what the fuck I'm doing for the next year. I don't care.
Yeah.
I've never cared. And I feel like I'm just now like you're saying, like I don't feel any lack or disalignment with being, and well, of course there's some, not really. I'm healing it, and I'm closer to my alignment than I ever have been before I came out of the womb, because that's when I was the most connected. But
Yeah.
I'm getting back to that state, and this is the closest I've been with the awareness of it. And so I have no desire to plan shit or figure things out. Like, I just want to live, and I feel like I really kind of struggle with my day to day. And but it's getting better because I'm gaining awareness of it. I'm asking these questions, so that's I know that's a key point. The shift is happening. I feel like whenever how you know a shift is happening is whenever you start gaining awareness and asking those things and questioning those things within yourself.
You're doing one of the greatest things that you could do, though, because along with experiencing the shifts, you're sharing the shifts.
Yeah.
You're sharing it with other people. And,
Yeah.
you don't really know, like, we're speaking to a phone and a microphone right now. Like,
Yeah.
we don't really know who, how, when this affects people, but
That's why I want to do it. Like,
all you can
I
do is put
love
it
the
out there.
podcast, and the only thing that I want to do in my life right now is get better at interviews and interview more people, and just keep receiving opportunities that I'm receiving, and
Yeah.
just keep traveling. Like, that's
So,
all I care about.
Let me ask
right now.
you, are you living an exciting life?
I am living an exciting life. I'm flying home tomorrow, leaving my boyfriend in Greece to go do a shoot and stay with his mom. How exciting is that?
But
and I don't know when he's coming back, and neither does he.
Yeah.
But then I'll be coming back in like September to sign with the Greek agency.
Damn right.
So yeah, shit's fucking
But
exciting.
like, what do you do with your time? Like, okay, this is one thing because you're experiencing such profound shifts and changes in your life, in your state of well-being, and your fulfillment, and all of that stuff, in your alignment.
Mm-hmm.
What you can do? Like, what you can do is obviously one of the greatest things to do is share that, and so you're already doing that. What else? Like, you follow your passions, you follow your excitement. Like right now, what am I doing? I'm not doing it for a specific outcome or getting anything. I'm doing it because it's something I'm passionate about. Like, I'm working on writing my book every single day.
Yeah.
And that's like,
it's gonna be so good.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I wanna keep writing my poetry book. I mean, it's not like I've just not been doing it. I just haven't felt like super inspired. Because, like, I'm not putting pressure on myself. And that's another thing. Like, I don't put pressure on myself to, like, I just do shit. Just do it.
Just do it.
Mm-hmm. But I want to start wrapping this up. And, I don't think I've been asking questions at the end of my episodes recently.
No, I don't think you have. Is it time to bring it back?
Yeah. What the fuck? Why did I stop? Well, to be fair, I kind of ask a million questions throughout every episode.
True.
So you're never left without a question. So you can never say that. But I want to specifically leave the audience with some questions.
Okay.
So my question for you guys, and then you're going to ask a question, is I don't know yet.
Loading.
Loading. No, I'm going to ask you a question, actually.
Okay. So am I still asking a question?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe.
Sure.
Or answering. Cool. I don't know. Whatever you
Go ahead.
want. But my question for you is, over everything that we talked about in this episode, what would you say are the biggest takeaways around acceptance and letting go of resistance and gaining awareness of resistance? What would you say are like, if they needed to take something right now and run with, what is that in the sense of less resistance?
Do what you can with what you have. That's it. Do what you can with what you have. And so like when I was talking about investing in yourself, invest your time and energy in yourself. Invest your time and energy in expanding, improving, and loving the vehicle that you are for creation and for love. Like you're a loving being. You're a vehicle of love. You're a vehicle of creation. And so bringing more love, awareness, intention into that. Being intentional about what you're consuming and everything. So like do what you can with what you have. Everybody has 20 minutes a day to meditate. Everybody has time to read a book. Everybody has the ability to journal, to reflect, to input new ideas into your mind through reading, all podcasts, audiobooks, all of the above. All these things I'm talking about, like, or immerse yourself in a community, immerse yourself with people who are like-minded, with people who are doing this stuff too. Do what you can with what you have.
Yeah.
And also, I will add a little bonus right on top of that. Feel your feelings. Yeah. The emotional stuff, every single thing that I'm talking about in this episode, as far as your emotions, letting go, all of that stuff, do it. Feel the feelings until they're done being felt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got for you.
I love it. Do you have a question for the audience, or do you have a question for me?
So, not limited to this episode, what has been the most valuable insight or perspective for you on this journey?
Of like this whole trip?
No. Just the journey of...
The journey of life?
Hey, the magical lane. Yeah.
Ask that again.
What has been the most significant, impactful, meaningful insight or perspective for you on this magical lane?
That I have no limitations, and if I feel like I have any limitations, then I'm just out of alignment with who I really am at the core, and that the patterns and beliefs and society and the people around you they don't know more than you in a sense, and that's
big.
Yeah. No matter who they are, they don't know more than you. It doesn't matter age, what they do for a living, if they're a CEO. It's just a matter of, are they aligned with themselves?
Yeah.
And that I feel like that's a really big one. There's so many things.
That is big.
But I feel like So I'd say those are my like two biggest things that I personally have no limitations and nobody else. Nobody does. Nobody has limitations. Only the limitations that they put on themselves or they allow themselves to have. And that
I want to add something on that. Like if you don't have any legs, like that's not what we're talking about as far as no limitations. Just want
no.
to put that out there. Like,
I'm speaking on like mental and like
like what's possible for you, kind
yeah.
of thing.
Like the divine limitations and what you can achieve in this life, you know, because like there's disease out there, there's disorders, there's people who don't have all their limbs and
Okay, yeah. Here's the
everything.
thing.
So
I want
like
to add something to that really quick though, because
okay.
the person who doesn't have any legs, oh man, you came here for a specific reason, just as we all have,
Yeah.
and you came from non-physical existence. You were not always a human form. But you came into this life to experience a specific perspective
Without
and
resistance and all the acceptance of who you are.
yeah, and I will go so far as to say that you did create not having legs because you came here with a specific intention for an experience, lesson, whatever impact that you were here to make that would come about and be aided by you not having legs. So like but that goes for anything else too. Anything.
Yeah.
Me having red hair
Me too.
and her having red hair contributes to that.
Yeah.
Like
because being a redhead gives you a whole different experience of life compared to other people, and I will stand by that.
Yeah, or your skin color, yeah, you know,
it's hair color, skin color, your height.
It gives you a different experience and perspective, and
there's nothing wrong with any of them. That's just your own personal experience, and that's
no, exactly.
That's literally I like that you brought it here because that's everything that we talked about in this entire episode is acceptance of what you are because you cannot change that thing. Change those things. You can dye your hair, you can cut your hair, but you cannot change anything else physically unless you want to go get fucking surgery. But that's just you resisting. That is the ultimate form of resistance if you are not accepting how you were born.
It's like people, souls have to change the vehicle that they come into this life with to get a different experience. If there are certain things that you are meant, destined to overcome, to feel and process in your generational bloodline or ancestors, then every aspect of you that manifested into this form of your body, of your life, is for a reason and contributing to your purpose in some way, whether you see your purpose or not, whether you think you have a purpose or not, it's contributing in some way. And when you get to a certain level of acceptance, you'll really fucking see that. You'll realize, bold statement alert, life is perfect.
Yeah, it is. I talked about that in my first couple episodes.
I know a lot of people can't accept that.
No.
But
because they don't think that
it's
anything can be perfect.
Yeah, and it's like, oh,
but that's the perfection of it.
No, exactly. And how can God exist when there's all this disease and pain and suffering?
That's the perfection.
There are people who came into this this life to experience those things, particular things. And I know it's fucked up.
People have to die.
Exactly. I mean, it's a natural process. But that's the thing, is like we look at death way too seriously.
Yeah.
Like you never actually die.
Like imagine, let's think about this.
Cut it right there. You don't actually die.
Yeah.
Cut the podcast.
But let's think about this, you know, like Earth happened. Imagine if none of these physical beings died or went away. What the fuck would the world be like?
Yeah.
People have to go to make space for the new and to give those experiences that come along with the death of those people that are around them.
Yeah, so we're just going deeper into acceptance here. ultimate acceptance is also accepting death and
Yeah.
not identifying or attaching or fearing it so much.
Yeah.
Because it's not the end of you as the soul,
Just
non-physical
this form.
being that you are, just the form.
Yeah.
Because energy is never destroyed or created or destroyed. It only changes forms.
It just is.
Yeah.
You just are. And this podcast is great. And I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're
we
going
gotta
to
go.
be here. Yeah, we have shit to do. It's my
Peace.
last day in Greece. And I'm not going to see this guy for a few weeks, which is amazing, but sad at the same time.
Yeah.
But I love you, and I love
you.
you guys, and I appreciate you for listening, and I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Let me know if you want more of this beautiful man on the podcast. More guests are coming your way, because I'm going back to people that I know and can speak fluent English with me, and I'm excited for that. I can have conversations all the time now, which I have been having a lot of in Greece, so I'm really grateful for that. But anyways, if you enjoyed this episode, give it a rate, give it a review, share it with your friends, share it with the people that need it the most. And where can they find you, Elijah?
YouTube. That's great to say. Now YouTube is my main platform. So
Yay.
I believe it's _Elijah Mang on YouTube, or it's just Elijah Mang.
It's _ Elijah Mang.
But you can also look up the One Decision Away podcast.
Go check that out. You'll find me on one of his episodes soon.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Peace.
Peace. Thanks for listening.